Thursday.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Hope you all have had a wonderful week without us. I'm just kidding. Just whatever. But anyway, so as you can see, we have a lovely special guest this week. Her name is Amy. Just below me over here. Hello.
Welcome.
So she's going to be here participating in our topic for the week. But before we get to that, we'll just do a quick roundtable of how everyone's week has been. We'll start with Jan.
Oh, hey. My week's been pretty good. We had a guest on Sunday, hung out for a little while. A Realm friend came over and just kind of played with Transformers with JD, and we had tacos and just hung out for the day. And other than that, Amy and I went out on Saturday.
You did.
That did just
your
happen.
house?
I left my house. Yes.
Oh my God.
I left my house. Amy took me out to an antique place, and we wandered around for a brief amount of time because the place closed at, not long after we got there. But it was a good time, and Amy found something really cool. And
Yes.
I found a cool sconce that we're gonna put up in the house. I gotta wire it in, but it looks like a big, I'll have to show it to you guys. I'll put a picture up at some point. But
Please do.
yeah. Just found some cool stuff. I had never been to this antique place, so that was a good time. And we went out and had lunch, and then I came home. So I did. I got out of the house. It was crazy.
Amy, did you need to use a crowbar to get her out of the house?
No, she just attached a rope to my leg and drugged me out the door. No, I'm kidding.
And held coffee out in front of you.
Yeah. Coffee. Anyway.
Walk the snow.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
it was a good time. And just, it's been a pretty mellow week so far. Yesterday was like the worst day as far as like pain, legs, gross, being like super tired and feeling like crap. And then today, of course, the weather broke and it looks like it's supposed to rain, but it hasn't yet. And I feel a lot better today. But it's been a fun week. We did shelf gravy last night, so that was a good time, messing around, joking around with Matt Hurd, and the boys. So yeah, that's me. It's great. Everything's awesome. Woohoo!
Everything is awesome.
How are you?
Well, I get 15 something.
This week's been very interesting, very overall good, but kind of crazy for me. So I felt like this week was more of a creative week because I've been having this I feel like I hit just like a block of some sort, like a mental block. I think I finally broke through it. And I was just like, oh my God, I want to do all these things. So I sat down and did a to-do list and finally finished some knitting projects. I have the pile of them right next to me in case you guys want to see them. So for instance, yesterday, I finished up this thing. It's a hat. Oh, here we go.
Ooh, nice.
Ooh,
I know, isn't it great?
Nice.
And it's a tube, basically. It was like a long tube, and I folded it inside out and sewed it up on the top, so it's reversible.
Okay.
So there you go.
Oh,
nice.
I know. Thank you. I wanted to use up the rest of this multicolored yarn, so I had a huge skein of it. And then I just use it up. I just need to wash it so that I can relax. So it looks kind of a little too wound up right now, but once I wash it, it'll be more relaxed, and I can give it to my husband. He can wear it and keep his head warm. So
Hams,
yeah.
that's really nice. I like
Thank
that.
you. I know, it's starting to look more professional. I'm so happy.
So, Amy, the crazy big huge scarf that I wear?
Yes.
Am's made that. So she's
that's awesome.
Yes. Part of tonight's topic, because that's what I'm trying to create. So
Yes.
And then
Nice.
I had one negative point of this week. I was, I'm trying to get back into, because I stopped working out in December. And I'm finally trying to get back to walking and working out. So I went out to walk, it was a couple days ago. I'm like, all right, fine. I finally feel good enough. I'm going to go out to walk. And I managed to find the one patch of ice on the road and managed to slip. And oh my God, I was so sad because it was so funny because I was going downhill so I couldn't catch myself. Thankfully, I only got a scrape on my left knee. But I tore a hole in my pants, so I'm super sad.
Oh no!
Patch him. Put a patch.
I think
Put a patch over him.
Maybe I should go onto Instagram and Grims, maybe you can help me buy a
Mhm.
patch from like some super great artist, and then
Mhm.
so
There are
one
plenty
of
out there.
the
There are
pants.
plenty out there.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it was so hilarious because as I was falling, someone was pulling out their driveway and they were about to drive off, and then they stopped and went like, had the look. I couldn't hear them. We couldn't hear each other, but she had the look of like, "Are you okay?"
Mhm.
I like kind
Yeah.
of bounced up. I'm like, "I'm okay. I'm good. I'm good." So I'm like,
Yeah.
what the heck, man? I mean, I just had the one little patch of ice
Oh no.
out of the entire road. Like, oh, okay, great. But other than that, it's been good.
Mm.
I've had a very creative week. I've been getting projects done, which is super nice. And I want to get more projects done. I'm going to try to make a sweater next, which I've never done. Because like right now, I'm seeing my pile of projects. I've only made scarves and hats and very flat square things. And I want to like expand into and make more, you know, big picture things, just more difficult things.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
So
That makes
Mhm.
sense. Makes sense.
yeah,
Awesome.
so that was my week. How about you, Miss Diorama Diva?
Well, let's see. I started out the week by getting a parking ticket.
Mm.
Oh no, no.
Aw.
I was at a patient's house. I pulled up in front of her house and I'm like, wow, there's plenty of parking here. So I pull up, I jump out, I go in and see my patient, and 25 minutes later I come back out and I got a $30 parking.
Oh, that sucks. I'm
Nope.
so sorry.
And then so that was, the downer for the week. We had a really cool lunch today at work. The owner of the company I work for, it was his birthday, so we all decided to go together and kind of make a luncheon for him. So we did steaks in a crock pot. Some of them were barbecue and some of them were done in A1 sauce. And then we did baked potatoes and corn in a crock pot. And we brought it to work and we started it when we first got there. So by lunchtime it was done. Oh my gosh, this was an amazing lunch. And then they had
Sounds
cupcakes.
amazing.
And I went and hugged them because they got me gluten-free cupcakes.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
Pennsylvania Bakery. I was like, I have cupcakes. So that was
Fantastic.
cool. And then I sold my car that I replaced for
Nice.
my instead of my four-wheel drive or my little car, I went and got a four-wheel drive back in November. I know we talked about it on the show where my husband was really pissed off about it. And this week he decided to say, I'm really glad that you got that when you did. And then on top of it, he stole my car tonight to go to a meeting.
Well, hey, at least he's not pissed about it anymore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
The best thing to have happen, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I found out also that we've sold our van. So I transfer the title on that tomorrow. So now that's 2 cars in a week and I can pay off one of our car payments. And I'm happy.
Yay!
Awesome.
Yay.
That's awesome. Good feeling.
Yay! Everything is awesome.
It is awesome. You're right. You're definitely right about that.
Very good.
Amy.
Okay, hi.
Hello, Amy.
Okay, so my week on Saturday I went out, obviously, and we went to the antique shop and I bought this awesome, I think it's like 1940s, I'm not sure of the date, but it's called a telephone bench. And it's basically a bench and it has like these 2 little shelves that are connected to the side of it where they used to put their telephone. They're actually nicknamed gossip seats because I guess people would, sit on the bench and talk shit to other people on the phone. I guess. I don't know. So got that, and then I didn't like the cushion that was on it. It was like this, like this vinyl pleathery looking brown.
Where your butt sticks to it if you're in shorts. Yes.
Yeah. And I don't know who has been sitting on that for the past, God only knows how many years. So I ripped it apart and I got new batting and awesome material, and I reupholstered it this week. And it was really funny because when my daughter, who's 12, came home and saw it, she's like staring at it, and she goes, I don't get it. And I was like, what don't you get? And she was like, well, how did they do their schoolwork on that? And why did there two shelves? Like, where and I was like, honey, it's not a school desk. It's a telephone like seat. And she was like, oh, so they charged their phones here.
Oh, yeah.
She doesn't get it. She doesn't.
No.
And I'm like,
Oh man.
no.
That reminds me, not to cut you off, but there's like, I saw this one video online where this mother, I think she was like talking to her son, and she was asking him to hold an imaginary phone up to his head, and he went like this.
Yeah, that's it.
And people from our generation and earlier would go like this. So that's what it reminded me of. I'm like, oh no, we're in that day and age where people don't even remember cordless phones anymore.
Or
they don't.
Or corded phones, excuse me.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. They had the bell.
The bell.
Right. Yeah, like that.
And they had like party lines where you would, you shared a line with your neighbors.
And Lord forbid you had somebody that really talked for a long time.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So, but anyway, so we got that done. I got that done. And then I rebuilt my fish tank because it used to be a planted tank with live plants. But this is the house where plants come to die, even when they're completely submerged in water. So, wasn't a good thing. So I ripped all that apart. And now we are living the lovely life of fake aquatic plants, which seem to be they're really healthy at the moment. So
if you kill them, you have a special kind of
I know. And every day, and it's so weird too, because every day I go over and I check it and I'm like, okay, things look good. Keep it up, And even my daughter stays home, she's virtual school, and she has a babysitter, a nanny that comes in, this girl who's 18 and just super pretty, just super great, living the best life.
Oh wow.
And she came and I had already left for work, and when I got home she was like, your fish tank is amazing. And I just felt so proud because it just used to be this bucket of sludge. So it looks fantastic. The fish are thriving.
What kind of fish do you have?
I don't know. And
the kind that swim.
Listen, and this is what's crazy. I knew that at one time I had 3 ghost shrimp, which are shrimp that are see-through.
And they're dead.
Well, I thought that there was only one left. And the other day I'm staring and I'm and I scream at my daughter. I'm like, oh my God, Fee, there's 2. And she's like, 2 what? And I was like, there's 2 ghost shrimp. I was like, they're not dead. I was like, there's 2 of them in here. I literally thought they were gone. I just thought they died and they disintegrated with the plants. I didn't know where they went. So
the plants ate them.
They're there and they're loving it. So they seem to be happy. And we have I don't know what fish we have. I just point and say, I want that. And then they give it to us. So
that Petco variety.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's right.
So, and then I work the rest of the week, and I work tomorrow. And tomorrow's my niece's birthday, which is exciting. So we're going to be doing dinner. Yeah, she'll be 8 tomorrow, which is exciting. And she exclusively made sure that Aunt Amy was invited to dinner, which made me feel really good.
Okay, good.
So, so that's what I'll be doing to wrap up my week. And then possibly maybe going shopping on Saturday. We haven't really narrowed it down, but that's
We're working on it.
I'm jealous now. Oh man, I want to be there.
Are you going antiquing again?
I don't know what we're gonna do. We're talking about maybe going down to Red Lion to the record store that I keep talking about. If we can get together in time, because on Saturdays he closes at 4. So We're going to cross our fingers, hope that happens. If not, we'll find something to get into. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah. Because Amy and I now have an agreement that we're going to try to get each other out of the house, whatever that may be. Even if we just like go for a walk somewhere, like Pincho or something,
Right.
as the weather warms up. We need to, because both of us have turned into hermits. Like, I don't leave my house, as you guys know. She doesn't leave her house unless she's working. So we both have this problem.
At Target. Yeah.
Have you gone to the Boiling Springs Children's Lake and walked around it?
No.
And fed the ducks?
No.
No.
I love ducks, so that would be really fun.
And they have a really, really good cafe across the street.
I like cafes and coffee. Amy said she wants to take me to this place where she went to get coffee this past week.
Oh, and across the street from that is an ice cream shop.
I love ice cream.
Sounds like heaven.
Making me want to go outside now.
I go outside all the time. It's heaven for me to actually stay inside for once. I'm like, yes, I don't have to go into somebody else's house. Yes.
That's the other part of it.
I've spent a lot of time on Allison Hill lately.
But it's also like not doing the things you would normally do, like your work stuff or your normal routine stuff throughout the week. It's like throwing that little bit of a wrench in your regular gears to make you stop and do something else. You know, that's the other thing.
I'm trying to get Eric to go to IKEA so I can go and get my bar set up, my coffee bar set up that I want.
That's cool.
IKEA is dangerous.
We're gonna take a trailer. We're gonna rent a little U-Haul box trailer to go down to IKEA next time. But that's you can ride in the Star Wars van. We need too much shit from IKEA not to rent.
Exactly. Get something.
So
okay, fair enough. I was going to offer it, but
I appreciate it, but we're gonna load that trailer because we need to get Billy's and detox and all kinds of shit. So it's gonna be.
Who doesn't? I mean, I have a good collection of them downstairs.
Yep.
Yeah. Well. There's plans going on around here for different things to happen. I'm not excited about it, but I'm also like, oh God, we have to move everything around. You know what I mean? Kind of a thing.
Oh,
yeah.
I just did that with my sewing room. That's why all the shit's in the other room.
I get it.
That's why I'm out here, because my office is complete crap right now because my sewing room, the stuff that's come out of it is now in 2 different rooms.
Well, I guess to wrap this up, we should ask Grims how her week was.
Yes. So mine was boring, but what's exciting is something that I had talked about in the past that finally came in terms of my pin collection. It's the wedding box from the Harry Potter. So for those who may or may not know, in book 7, there was a wedding between Bill and Fleur Delacour. And unfortunately, the wedding had gotten attacked because Death Eaters had attacked the Ministry of Magic. So essentially, the wedding got ruined. And so the Harry Potter pin community had decided that they want to celebrate the wedding as if it never got interrupted or destroyed. And so 3 of the pin makers... 3 pin makers had come together. They happen to be friends, and they made this wedding box, which I think I've shown the image of before. So this cute little wedding box that they have, and they have theme set colors, and they invited a bunch of pin makers, just in general, just an open blanket saying, hey, make pins that can match the set. These are the colors that we specifically chose. Do whatever you think that you want. So I got the main box set, and I got one of the items of the order from it, but I'll try to collect more and show a bunch of the other stuff. But what was really cool is, of course, they kind of show what they did, but then they have all these other pin makers that had said that they're making pins that match it. So you can kind of follow them, see if you want to collect whatever it is. So outside of the box, I think I picked about 7 or 8 pins from different people from it, but I mean, you can see the list. Like, these are all individual different ones, so it's a lot to pick for a thing. But what was really cute is in there they made it like definitely a wedding theme, so I'm going to add it in to the stream. Let's flip-flop it here. So it starts with like a wedding invitation. I'm sorry.
Oh, that is really cool.
But they,
That
you know,
is
up
really
top,
neat.
and then you can open it up, and then it's the full wedding invite of them. I'm sorry, it's not coming up great quality, but you can kind of see.
It's not bad though. It looks really cool.
Yeah, so then you can see like, you know, welcome to their wedding, please join and all that stuff. So everything came in like cute little like packaging, like they made custom little stickers of their, you know, their names together. But the pins themselves came up like really, really beautiful. So I'm going to try to show them as best as I can without taking too much time. So the first one is this teacup made by Laser Brain. So it's got their planned house and built into a teacup, and you can see the little wedding symbol of them dancing together. So it has all these really pretty like little, I don't know if it'll show, but the glitter effects are actually like little rhinestones on the cup. So you can kind of get a little thing from it. Then she also made
I love
an image of them. Yeah, it's I wish I could show it even better, but it's just them dancing together in front of the burrow, which is the house the Weasley family lives in, which is where the wedding was done at. So it's just really beautiful, very like screen printed all. Jeez, I wish I could show that. Like screen printed of all the flower leaves type stuff, dots and stuff. And then I think this one was Odd Minute and Tweak. They did a cake topper of the Phoenix. The Phoenix, of course, you know, rising and, you know, rebirth and all that type of stuff. So it's a little cake topper of the two of them with the Phoenix behind it. And then there's the sun. And then this one's by Sunset Road Co., where she just did a little image of Bill and Fleur together with the seashells and the flowers. So they're together like loving each other. And then together they had made the Ford Angula, which is the Weasley family car with the just married sign behind it. And then trying my hardest to make sure I could get this focused. And the seashell jelly bean, because of course jelly beans are Laser Brain's thing. Yeah. And then they also threw in this little sticker, which is like the two of them naked together, like cuddling. Almost kind of reminds me of John and Yoko Ono. John Lennon type stuff. And so I think that that's just hilarious. They threw in little like photos from the movie, the stickers. I don't know if you can see them, but just like them from the wedding.
Oh, that's
cute.
And then also they did like a little notepad of that one big ornate pin. So then it's just a cute little check off, which I will never use.
Like that, yeah.
But they were really cute with like even the packaging. Like some of the pins even came in this really cute like bride and groom like little like wedding favor.
Wow.
Type stuff. So it was just really adorable. It was just like this really pretty just overall wedding like pin type thing. Then the one that I got from that was part of it, not part of the box, but you know, one of the makers, they made macaroons or macarons, however you say them.
Same thing.
Yeah, a little tray of them as you know, snacks or desserts for the wedding, so that they match in the set. And then I had bought two other pins since I wanted to save on shipping. I got from I guess the frog card where it was Dumbledore's. He goes, you can't expect them to stay around all day anyway. And then the Weasley twins, I solemnly swear I'm up to no good.
I love that, yeah.
So those are some of the pins that I had gotten this week. Those are the ones kind of themed around that I thought were like the ones I'm so excited for. Oops, that's not what I need to do. I meant to remove and put this together. But there's going to be a lot more to come when it comes to these pins. So I'm going to try to gather them up again when I get a couple more in and then show them there. But yeah, those are definitely, I'm really, really excited. They came out so beautiful. I'm very surprised. And I think that that's such a, speaking of small businesses, just a great way that the community of small pin makers had come together and kind of worked to make something as a great experience and bring the community together.
That's pretty cool.
That's very nice.
Really neat.
That is cool.
So on that topic in particular, this week, of course, is going to be small businesses, just in general, just money. I think all four of you are all in small businesses. I myself don't now have one, or run your own business, own your own business, some function of that nature. So what is it that I guess what would be, it's like challenges that you come across or came across or still coming across in like starting up a business, running a business? I think that's probably the thing that gets people very intimidated is taking that first step? Like, what is it that makes you jump? Whoever wants to go.
Well, I was kind of pushed into starting. I worked for a company for 20 years straight out of high school. And in the blink of an eye, one conference call, they told us, guess what? Saturday, we are going out of business.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
So it was literally like overnight, we went into liquidation, and I was kind of like part of corporate.
Okay.
I was a district trainer, so not that I was like super high up, but I had a lot of people under me that I was kind of like in charge of, and I was completely blindsided. So, we were told to get on a conference call, and we were told to mute out our phones, and they did roll call. We muted out, and they told us, and that was the end of it. And Saturday we went into liquidation. A month later, I didn't have a job anymore. So everything that I knew as a life for 20 years was completely gone, and here I am, a single mom, mortgage, car payments, telephones, clothes, food, dogs, house, everything. What the hell am I going to do? So, and I had been wanting, I kind of checked out of that 20-year job, like 5 years before, and I was just kind of going through the motions, and I wanted to just go and get out and start my own business, because I was just tired of punching the clock, and I was tired of being part of corporate, and I was tired of making money for someone else and not reaping the benefits of it, because I was just clearly a number with dollar signs attached to it. And it was, we want more out of you. Yeah, you did great first quarter, but you could have done more. And you're like, what? No, I physically couldn't. So when it happened, I needed to make the move. And, I was putting applications out. I was going on interviews, and it was just like, not really feeling this, So I took the step, and I started my own cleaning business. And, I have to say,
I need your number.
I get more respect from my clients scrubbing their floors and cleaning their kitchen than I ever did making millions of dollars for a major corporation. And I wouldn't go back to it. And I love it. I love my clients. I love what I do. I have freedom, but I don't have freedom. If I don't work, I don't get paid. There's a lot of positives to it, but then there's a lot of negatives. You have to be very disciplined. You have to keep going. There's some weeks where I work 7 days a week, and I just have to keep going. And eventually I'll get to the point, because I'm going into my second year. So eventually I'll get to the point where I'll be able to take vacation. I'll be able to only work 4 or 5 days a week, or I'll be sending people out to do the cleaning, and I'll sit at a desk, but right now I can't do that. So, it was kind of scary, but I'm happy that I made the move to do it, so.
How do you manage, how do you figure, because from my understanding, right, you pay yourself, right?
Yeah.
So how do you manage that? How do you go about figuring that out?
What do you mean?
So percentage wise, say you bring in a certain a certain amount of money. Out of that, how do you figure out how much you pay yourself? Because I know you do this. I know that you keep money back.
Okay. So when I started this, it was kind of like a shock, because I was having money coming in every single day. And I was like, ooh, money every day. This is fantastic. I don't have to wait 2 weeks and only have $25 left in my account until that direct deposit hits. But then I was like, whoa, this is really scary. I need to pull it back in. And again, it was another discipline thing. I had to go through my books I have to keep solid books. I have to take a certain percentage out for taxes. I have to roll a certain percent. I'm sorry, they're going nuts.
It's okay.
I have to roll a certain percent into supplies and costs. And then I have a certain percentage that goes into a trust account, which is basically kind of like a business account, but it's for emergency purposes. Like for instance, when COVID hit, I couldn't work for 2 months. So, because we were all in lockdown, so we had to live off of that emergency fund. And that's
but you had that and you planned ahead for it.
Yeah, and it's actually like a really good thing to do that, basically setting up a trust account as far as an emergency account, because I kind of use that instead of reaching for a credit card that I'm going to charge stuff on and I'm going to have to pay back the interest. I kind of treat that trust account like, okay, this is my personal line of credit. If I have to pull from that, I need to pay that back. So, if an emergency does happen,
that's a good idea.
I have to pay that back. So I'm not financing an emergency situation, because if I was, I'm going to be paying how much back in interest, and I'm not gaining anything off of it. I'm my own business. So you kind of have to set that up as a safety net, So the whole financial end of it took me a good year to get that set up, have the books running in a certain way, and knowing, okay, I have this much coming in this month. This is how much needs to go here. This is how much needs to go here. And then I can pay myself whatever's left over.
X amount.
So, and I only pay myself once a month. So, and that kind of creates like a sense of discipline too, because if I only pay myself once a month, that's all she wrote. This is my paycheck for this month. This is how much we have to live off of. This is how much we have to go do stuff, go shopping, go hang out at Target for the night. You know what I mean? So, that creates kind of like, once that money's out, that's it. We're done shopping. We're done, we're on slim pickings for the rest of the month. So, and again, and I keep using this word, but discipline, when you own your own business, or you're thinking about owning your own business, you really have to be self-disciplined. You have to, you just have to have that in you to know what you're doing and to, and to be profitable,
Right. So you gotta get yourself in a good headspace to know that you need to portion out any cash that you're receiving into different places to make, because you don't want to wait until the last minute and try to be scraping money together to pay taxes or to try to get supplies or anything like that.
Right. And here's the thing, if something like that emergency fund, let's say something happens to my car and I blow a tire and I need $300 to replace the tire, that vehicle is a work vehicle. That's a work expense. If one of my vacuum cleaners conks out and I need to drop $400, I have that there to make that happen, and if you're not slotting these things out, and that's not just for my business, that's for, if you have a sewing business, all that type of stuff, any type of business, a tattoo artist, if they have their own tools and things like that, like if something happens, they need to replace that, and that's on them to do that. So you need to have that emergency fund set up. You need to have that safety net in place, or else one little thing could really set you back,
or just destroy it altogether. Like you could be like, okay, you can't do this anymore. You got to go get a job.
Yeah, we learned that lesson pretty quick. We had one of our cars go down and didn't think a whole lot of it until we had a convention that we had to go to and set up, and and another time we had a convention booth fee that we had to have, and we didn't have the funds for it. I mean, we just didn't have that there. And So we have like 4 different accounts that we put money into just for the business.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But I think you're a little bit more disciplined than I am. I need to be more like you. We need to sit down and talk about this.
Listen, that's not okay. Listen, one night at Target can totally screw up my life. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I love that.
You know, there's sometimes when I need to go out.
Splurge on yourself.
Exactly.
Well, I
Exactly.
do know that you did tell me that after quarantine, you were like, okay, so I've learned my lesson about Target. I'm done going there.
Target's
I'm
dangerous.
going to IKEA.
And
That red card,
guess,
5%.
guess
Oh,
who
yeah.
Chan ran into tonight at Target?
Target.
So
Oiny,
yeah.
oiny.
But in your
It happened.
defense, you were buying birthday gifts for your niece and nothing
Right.
else.
Oh, there you go.
Right.
So I mean, that was, that's pretty disciplined right there as
Right.
far as
Mhm.
things go.
Exactly. Well, I did buy myself a really big bag of Skittles, but we won't
Yeah.
go there. But it's whatever.
So extravagant.
That's not Skittles. That's mood enhancement medication.
That's right.
Right.
If
Right.
Taste the rainbow, baby.
Exactly. Exactly.
you don't mind, I'm going to be taking notes because I just started my business technically last year. I'm actually coming up on my first year anniversary because I started in about March of last year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was
Quarantine.
a horrible time to start it because so y'all then segue into my story. I'm sorry. Were
You're
you
fine.
still want to
Yeah,
talk
no,
about
I'm
it?
good. No,
Okay,
go
I
ahead.
didn't want to cut you off. Okay, cool. I'm just really, I don't want to be an asshole. That's all.
You're not.
No, you're good.
Thank you. So I had been working in food service for about 10 years, ever since I got out of high school. So like same as you, I just like went into it. I'm 28 now.
Food service and retail can destroy a person.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
tell it to my hands. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, your
like, facet
moral
of that.
compass just yeah.
I absolutely
Yeah.
hate people. I really do. I have no respect for anyone anymore. Like I don't. I absolutely.
I get it. Yeah. I'm not laughing
You'll
because I'm laughing at you. I'm laughing because I agree.
It's so true. It's
Listen, you'll
horrific.
learn to love people again. The
I
longer
hope
you're
so.
out of it, you'll
Donna.
But hold on, Donna. You are in like a service field, so
Yeah.
you have to step out of a service field to find love for people again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
I see the worst of worst.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the non-compliant, I hate the world. I hate you. I hate. Like I evidently today, I got a phone call at the office after I left that they just absolutely hated me today. I'm like, oh, what did I do? You were just sitting there talking to me,
Right.
and I was doing your wound care. I'm sorry that your foot's gonna get cut off because you're not taking care of it.
Yeah.
Or don't be sorry, because if they fuck their own body up, then it's on them. So
It's their body. You only get one.
Right.
Well, just real quick, I grabbed a shirt. I hope you have this one, Amy. It says not to be trusted alone at Target. I did a wardrobe change. I did a wardrobe change just for you.
I can't do that.
I love it.
Also, like I have something for that. I ran and did a wardrobe change first
That's
time.
awesome.
But I want to pull up this question. I don't know if you, I guess, answered it in a sense, but this from Brian. The time is money for running a small business. How do you balance pleasure time versus investing time into your business? Is it seen as a waste of time?
I
Or
need
seen
help
as a
with
waste of
that.
potential?
I have no idea how to do that because I am that type of person who loves to overwork themselves and not in the good way. So I have no idea how to separate me time and work time. And if I don't feel like I'm working enough, I never do. I'm one of those people, I never feel like enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that limiter. I wish I did.
You have to put that time, like how much time do you feel is a normal work week for what you're doing?
Mm-hmm.
I have a it's not an Excel sheet, but it's a Google document sheet, like Excel. And what I did when I first started my business was it really helped me. I put a timesheet. Like I gave myself a timesheet, and I'm like, okay, if I reach like 30 to 40 hours, that's excellent. That's a normal work week. So if I put myself on those metrics that I've already been going by, that should help out a lot. And then I also have, because I'm a graphic designer, illustrator, I have, I'm forgetful as hell. I have like a post history. So I just like, I have this sheet where I show which pieces I've posted on my shop and on where, like which social media, because I should probably whittle it down. So I've heard that you should only really have like 2 social medias to really take care of, but I'm on like Facebook and Twitter. I have a Patreon.
Rumble and YouTube and Instagram, not Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram.
Instagram.
Yeah, so I try to manage those. Yeah, Reddit as well. Reddit. Yeah, I almost forgot.
Yeah, and running yourself thin in that sense.
So that's helped me a lot.
So what we've learned that we need to do is that you find out what a normal work week is for the type of work that you do. And then you stick to that time. What time are you going to lunch? What time, if you need to go to a doctor's appointment, put that into your time. Are you going to work more today, or are you going to work more tomorrow? And you stick to that. And if you need to set a timer, you set a timer. So you don't overwork, because those of us who've started businesses, you know that it takes up over your whole life because you're living in it. I know we've had that problem when we started ours up. We actually started, we were working on a small film, a feature length film, and people liked the props so much that they wanted us to do the Goddard School at NASA's school teaching program, and to create their backdrops, but we had to be a business. And so we were thrown from 0 to 60 in like a month. So even 15 years later, almost 16 years later, we're still figuring out some of that stuff, because we went from 0 to 60 and it hasn't stopped since.
But would you say that's like your second job as far as your everyday life goes? Because don't you and your husband both have like regular daily work?
No.
Jobs?
So what actually ended up happening is Eric was working at an engineering firm, and he was a machinist, laborer type person, and he was working on precision engraving machines and stuff like that. And the deal was when I became a nurse, because I was spending all this money for it. The deal was that once I became a nurse and I was making more money, he had this dream of, like you said, Amy, of not working for other people, but to work for themselves and not making other people money. And so when we were approached by the Goddard School at NASA to do the products, this was like the big thing. Well, he was doing full-time work and then working at our business on the side at Hole in the Ground. Well, what ended up happening when I became a nurse was he started paring back his hours. He went from full-time 40 hours to 30 hours. And within a couple months, he was down to 20 hours. Within a year, he was down to 10 hours, and then they fired him.
Gotcha.
Which we actually celebrated. It was literally his 18th anniversary at that company. And they're like, happy 18th anniversary. I'm sorry, today's your last day. And he's like, okay, we've been working on this for a while anyway. So, and they knew this, and it was just kind of like the kick in the pants he needed to get out the door. And it actually ensured that we were able to do it. I wouldn't say everybody would be able to do that, but it ended up happening really nicely for us. But the financial piece for us is still starting to click into place. I actually did go back to school after I got my nursing for business administration to be able to run our business better. But so I do more of the administration. Now, I did teach him how to do the molding and casting and stuff like that, but he had the skills prior to. We make a really good team when it comes to that, because I knew that end of it and he knew the AutoCAD and the engraving. And then now we have 3D printers and he's learned about that. So, you know, it's literally a learning experience. And like I said, we're almost 16 years in and we're still learning.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like you guys you're dealing with how do I want to say it? You're dealing with a field that is going to be a constant learning experience anyway, because there's always going to be new equipment, there's always going to be new products, there's always going to be stuff to learn to keep up with everyone else. You know,
hence the 3D printers. We were completely against the 3D printers, and then because it was, a lot of people think that they're prop makers just because they can go on Thingiverse or one of the other places and download a file and just print it out. Mm-hmm. Well, and did you hear him? He said garbage product. Mm-hmm. So the thing is that what we're trying to do is create a superior product.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's different whenever you're doing this. Hey, it's different when you're 3D sculpting it yourself. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like when you're just pulling files and printing them. I mean, that's great. That's fine and well and good, and it teaches you how to use the machines and stuff like that. But until you learn how to do the sculpting yourself, it's not necessarily your own. Do you know what I'm saying? Am I making sense?
Oh, is that the emblem?
It's our emblem.
Oh, I was floating above my head like the small flying saucer.
It's a lady.
It's a naked lady laying on her back.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll show it to you later.
There's a certain amount of old manitude when it came to the 3D printing thing. It was kind of like I spent a decade of my life, you know, perfecting my craft and actually, you know, doing a professional business and everything. And then like some high schoolers like, I got a 3D printer, I could do it too.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, kid, you didn't pay your dues. You didn't work for it. You got it handed on a silver platter.
I can understand that.
Out of your hand.
I felt the same way about people who did like computer animation stuff and never picked up a paper and a pencil. And I'm like, what the fuck do you think you're doing? You don't know what you're doing. You didn't pay your dues. You didn't have a crappy teacher standing over your shoulder going, what the hell is that? Yeah. You gotta use the whole page, you know, whatever. Like all the stupid shit that you're taught, you know.
You had actually asked about how you equate time. He's a good one to ask about equating time.
Oh, please do. I'm horrible, absolutely horrible at time management.
How do you plan out your day, and how much time do you know to devote to working on our business?
Well, I always try to do everything that needs done that day. And when I finally say, you know what, I just gotta stop. It's usually how it works.
We can't hear him.
Closer.
Closer. Gotta be closer. And so hold on, let me rephrase. Hold on, listen close. Because it's something Brian said. He was like, time is money. For running a small business, how do you balance pleasure time versus investing that time into your business? I.e., is pleasure time seen as a waste of potential business time?
For me, it's kind of weird because it's like my hobbies and my business they dovetail. They're kind of one and the same. I mean, the expression of my hobby and people saying I'm willing to pay for what you just made for the heck of it. Mm-hmm. You know, it dovetails. Now, one issue you have with this is it can get to the point where now that I do essentially my hobbies as my work, I get very little of my own projects done because I'll spend, 8-9 hours a day, say making a prop for some other people. And I'm just like, I just spent all day doing that. The last thing I want to do is more of the same for myself.
Right.
So I think
Is that why you were playing Legos last night?
no, because I'm going to get them ready to
Okay.
sell.
Well, hold on. So this also falls in line because I grew up with someone who owned their own business, and so my dad's a mechanic. He ran his own garage, and this stems away from like maybe art related, owning your own business, small business stuff. But it's this also falls into the same space where it's like his own vehicles would tend to be neglected.
As a matter of fact, I was going to make that analogy that a lot of times mechanics have the cars that are always broken down and stuff because they do it all day.
So the same thing goes because I worked for a gentleman who ran his own business, and I was a painter's helper for a few years before I became a professional house painter. And he his house needed painted too. And I found that I did the same thing. Like I would come home, I would do everything else that I needed to do. But when it came down to like decorating and cleaning up, like making the walls look pretty, I'll say, because I was like OCD clean, but everything else needed painted. And there were things that needed drywall patching and stuff like that. So like stuff that I did every day for everyone else, I would neglect to do at home for myself. I know that Amy runs a cleaning business and she is a very clean person. But do you find that you do that too? Or I don't know. Can you kind of reflect on Brian's question and kind of like go back into neglecting your own things?
Yeah, like I have a 12-year-old daughter who is in virtual school. She doesn't go to school because she's very afraid of COVID, which that's fine. So she's home all the time. And I had to have like a very intense come to Jesus meeting with her the other day because I told her, I was like, I'm out cleaning other people's houses all day. And the last thing I want to do is come home and clean up after you. I mean, and that's just one instance, but I don't want to come home and clean my own house. Like I tend to let things like that go until I can't stand it anymore because I'm out doing that all day long. And, you know, pleasure time versus business time, you know, like it's also a major work-life balance. Like, you know, if everyone here, if you own your own business, there's things in your home that you neglect because I feel like I'm constantly working. I'm constantly putting time into the business and I'm not doing the things that I need to do here at my home, you know? So, it can be very daunting and it can be difficult, but again, like I'm out there cleaning up everyone else's crap. I don't want to come home and clean up the crap here, you know? So
I think for everyone, it's a little bit different. You know, like some people that might like a very well-defined, rigid schedule. Like they might want to set a time where they say, okay, you know what? I get up, I work until 4, I work until 5. That's it. If I'm in the middle of something, it doesn't matter. It's like if you work for someone else, okay, that's the time. You punch the clock, you go home, do, you know, whatever.
You're usually done by like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and we have our time together.
Right, but what I'm saying is, for everyone, it's a little bit different. They might, like, some people might want to set a time where that is their structured work hours, and they don't work outside of that. Some people.
Okay, so
that helps me a bit.
So how's this? Do you actually purposefully schedule personal time for yourself to like go out with friends or go do something or spend time with your wife or your husband or spend time with your kid or spend time with your family to do things you enjoy? Like I know the time is rolling around for us to start getting outside and doing some gardening. Are you going to try to schedule that into your time as well as your work time? Does that make sense?
I get that. Yeah. And
or
actually,
do you just say fuck it and you go spend your personal time without having to schedule it in? You know what I mean?
I think a major key, especially for me, I'm sorry if I interrupted. You have to learn when to use the word no, because I have clients that
I'm bad
want
at that.
me too. Me too. And I feel so guilty by saying no, but you have to learn when to say no and when to step away, because I have clients, there's certain times of the year that get very, very busy and people want extra work done and they want to schedule me on a weekend or whatever fits their schedule. And even if I know that that's a weekend that I'm literally going to be sitting my ass on the couch in front of the TV, eating a bag of Doritos and drinking 7 cans of Coke, if I know that it's going to be one of those weekends.
I like that.
And but my problem is like, I see this person offering me a gig on a day that I could be doing nothing. And that gig is like worth, an extra $200 versus me sitting on the couch. I still have to say, you know what? No, I need that time away from work to basically just re-energize myself and step away. Because if you don't learn when to step away, it's just going to get really nasty and you're going to start hating what you do. You need to take a break. Even the best artists will tell you, if you're painting a portrait and you're doing fantastic with this portrait and you have 8 hours of work into that, you need to take a break and step away from it. Like because that beautiful piece of work that you're doing is basically going to turn into shit if you overwork it and you do it when you're tired or whatever. You're going to get sloppy. So you need to learn how to say no and not feel guilty for it.
So this is basically like a lesson. So running a small business is basically a huge lesson in self-discipline is what I'm gathering from everything. From like scheduling your time to managing your money to giving yourself some freedom to do whatever it is you need to do to re-energize yourself. This is all basically a game of balance and just, what can you handle and for how long, that too.
I personally wouldn't have it any other way.
I think another thing you need to remember whenever you're dealing with anything that is, craft or artist related is don't necessarily set what your prices are based on, I want to sell. And I know especially starting out, you tend to think that way. Where are you having trouble hearing me?
Yeah, no, we got the gist of it. You can keep going, but that's way better. Whatever's going on. Keep going.
Okay, so like you tend to think, well, I want to make sales, right? So therefore, I'm going to price stuff at what I think is going to sell and what I think is going to sell a lot. But in a lot of ways, you can end up underselling your ability, and sometimes it's more important to make. Yeah, so sometimes it might be more important to sell, a $120 item than to make $30 and you're working a ridiculous amount of hours and products and stuff. Because your tendency tends to be like, well, I need to move product. And you got to remember, there's always someone that buys the Lamborghini, and how many of those sell a year versus a Ford? So you have to price it based on really what people are willing to pay, but also what your talent actually demands. Don't undersell yourself.
So here's another quick question, because I don't know, Ams, I'm pretty sure that you can feel where I'm coming from here, but like, how do you know how to price out your time? How do you know what your ability is worth to be able to make any kind of a profit? Because there have been times in my life where it's like before the accident where I was able to stem out a little bit on my own as a painter, as a house painter. And it was like, okay, well, what's your time worth? How much would it cost to paint this room? And I had to sit there and consider, like, what is my time worth? What is my ability worth? to
How do
know
you put
what
a
to
price on
charge
yourself?
people. That's exactly. So how do you figure that out? How did you manage that? Did you research what other people were paying before you did any of that, or how did you figure it out?
Well, when it comes to hourly stuff, which I don't do anything on an hourly basis really, unless someone comes to me for some sort of custom. But when you're dealing with custom stuff, it can also be very hard to know how much time it is. So unless you tell them, oh, well, this is going to be $20 an hour, and they say, okay, how many hours does it take? I don't know. I never did it before. It might be 1 hour. It might be 50 hours. And then they go, well, I don't really want to pay it if it's going to be 50 hours. So,
Yeah.
you always have your material cost and your time. Some of it's going to come down to just experience. You say, I did something similar to this and it took me so much of time. I'm going to say that it took me 3 hours last time. Probably going to take me 3. And then you maybe tell the person you padded a little, 3 to 4 hours, will be X amount of dollars. For myself, I don't really include on most of our products. I don't base it on the time it takes me to do it. For one, I could be, because I do cast resin stuff, I can be working on part of 10 different orders all at once. I mix resin, I pour this mold, this mold, this mold, this mold. It might all be for different people, or it might all be partial orders. So that goes based on material, but also, gauging, okay, I'm going to make this chair. Is someone going to pay $50 for this little chair? Probably not. So, I base it on how much I think it can get. Sometimes I've come out with stuff and it sold stupidly well on something that I thought was maybe overpriced or would be difficult to sell at that price. And I'm like, man, like everyone's buying this and I got $80 on it. Guess what? After a week, it goes up to $85. Hey, I'm still selling really well. Do I want to move to 90? So there's some stuff that the cost has changed when I realized that that's what someone's willing to pay.
Right.
Oh, and so I just thought it was a good question. Sorry, go ahead, Jan. I'll ask.
I was just gonna ask Amy, because like she's not in a, so like your business isn't so, I mean, I guess it is hourly, but you don't charge hourly, correct?
No, I don't. See, and it's such a fine line with that. When I go to look at a job, when it comes down to the money, it makes me so uncomfortable. Like, absolutely. Yeah. Like I cringe. Money is a very important thing for me, and also the people that are spending the money. And I don't know. Money is just, it drives me insane. And there has been bids where I've bid on something. I just did one. I did a move out clean for this woman. And when I'm there and I'm looking and, and when it came down to the dollar amount, I spit out this total and she was like, oh my gosh, yes. And I'm thinking, I totally underbid.
Yeah.
I could have gotten more. Yeah. And then when I was in there doing the job, I was literally cursing at myself. I was like, you are the biggest fucking idiot. You look at how dirty this is. I mean, did they ever clean? Like, they lived here 27 years. I don't think they ever vacuumed. Do you know what I mean? I should have bid more. So I don't do it by hourly because sometimes I just feel like that's unfair to the client, because I could stretch it. I could say, oh yeah, $50 an hour, and I could drag my feet and milk it. And I just don't think that's fair. So I kind of have like an equation for it. It all depends on how many rooms. Do they have pets? Do they have kids? Do they smoke in their home? How many people live there?
How many floors?
How many floors? Do they work from home? Are they supplying the cleaning products? Do I have to bring my own? So there's so many determining factors, and I'm in year 2, and I think now I have that equation like down pat, that I can literally go into a room and while I'm touring it, I can just keep adding it up in my head. And then when I get to bringing out like, hey, this is how much it's going to be. And plus, do they want me there weekly? Do they want me there bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly? It all depends on that too. So when I get to the money aspect, I'm now just starting to feel confident in the quote that I'm giving, so
Yeah.
But you also
I don't like to do hourly, just by what you had said. Like, it's kind of difficult to say, look at a job and say, oh yeah, this is going to take me 3 hours, this is how much it's going to be, but then at the end of the day, you're there 5 hours, you're working on it 5 hours, so you're undercutting yourself, so
Right.
Really, everything comes down to there's a price. If someone came to me and said, I need you to shovel this barn of manure for $5, I would say no. If they said 100, I would maybe start thinking about it. If they told me $10,000, I'm shoveling that barn and I'm going to ask for some another one. So everything kind of has a price, and there are contracting jobs. I can tell you of at least one we had where they don't want to do it based on the quote, and they figure if the person's crazy enough to pay it, I'll pay it. I will do it then. We had tried to get some quotes on getting this big garage done, and we weren't looking on any interior, any electrical, any lights. It was just literally put up the frame, put up the roof, and they said, they didn't even come out and look at it. I gave them dimensions. They said $100,000. And I'm like, wait, we could literally buy a finished house on a property for what this place is quoting just to put up a framework. And it's like, well, they probably said, we don't want any part of that. But if they're crazy enough to spend $100,000, we would do it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's basically some people overstep their boundaries on their worth, and some people are not pushing their worth enough.
That's what I need to figure out.
And I think a lot of artists, in a way, undercut themselves for a couple reasons. That there's some where they might not think their product is really worth it, that no one would pay it. There's people that will do it, like I said, just because they want to be able to say, I sold something. And as an artist, that could be extremely sorry, am I shaking it? Okay. I'm Italian talking.
It's okay.
So, it's very hard trying to sell original stuff. I can tell you, even with the props, I've made some kick-ass props that literally it would take me 7 years to sell one. Everyone would be like, oh, this is awesome. Okay, will you buy it? Well, what's the price? Oh, it's a good price. But do you have anything from Batman?
Vampire hunting.
Yeah. So you can come up with something really cool, but when it's original, it's harder to move it than if it's, if there's already examples.
You should look at my Redbubble page, because I try to churn out a design a week, and I'm just like trying to think of new ideas. Like my original work, I feel like is so overlooked. If I do fan art, that's like those are my best sellers. Those honestly are fan art. Cool. So I want to be an original artist, but I kind of feel like I'm kind of plagiarizing a bit. Yeah, just like I'm profiting off of someone else's IP, intellectual property. And not my own. And I'm like, I want to profit off my own. I want to be able to give out my own.
Yeah, like just as an example, my this was years ago. This is a really long time. It's probably close to 20 years ago. My one cousin ran a nonprofit, some angels, something or other, to help people who had hard times or whatever. And she would have an auction like twice a year. And I donated some artwork, and it was just like mountain ranges and stuff, whatever. People would just want like very generic, like people are going to throw it in their living room kind of shit, like nothing specific. This is not anybody's sister or cousin type artwork, just generic bullshit, you know, like forests and mountain ranges and misty, cloudy looking crap. And the people were looking through the auction items and found out that the one mountain range was mine, and walked up to me and asked me about it. And they're like, "Is this the Blue Ridge Mountains? Is this
Yes,
Ridge
it
Mountains?"
is.
And I'm like, would it matter to you one way or the other? And they're like, well, my grandparents grew up around the Blue Ridge Mountains. I'm like, then that's what it is. because they needed that level of familiarity to it in order to connect to it, to want to buy it. And that is normally with creative properties what is necessary. People need to find a place where they look at it, they recognize it. It's like, they hang it in their house and they're like, this artist did this work. It's where my grandparents grew up, you know, like whatever. And that's just an example. But people, especially like you said, with artistic properties, need to feel an absolute direct connection.
Yeah. Indie comics is a great example too, because I have one, and it's like, you know, you're selling a comic for like $3-4 or something. I mean, that is chump change. That's like people could lose that easily a day, just falling out of their wallet or something. And that will be the toughest sell in the world. They'll be like, oh, it looks cool. And your sales pitch to them to sell even one comic is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, but they'll go and blow a ton of money buying up, you know, a huge stack of comics of, you know, Batman, Superman, whatever, because they're familiar with it. So any sort of original property, it is really hard unless you have something that is just really, really cool.
I'll give you a very prime example of something for similar. So going back to enamel pins. So there's this one artist that I follow, Momobot. Love his stuff. I've shown some of his stuff in the past. I haven't brought up most of it. But he does a lot of fan art. His biggest stuff is Sailor Moon pins and stuff of that nature. He has a Patreon where his pins, and he does have some that are like his own characters that he does, and they become, you know, the monthly pin. But the draw is technically his 12% off that you get for the Patreon. But those pins, he'll sometimes have extras, and he puts them on his Patreon shop. But those ones don't sell as much if it was a actual character, actual item. Like, that's where he makes his money, is Sailor Moon pins. That's the biggest one that I could think of. But he just did Disney princesses. He's done various other anime characters. He's done Digimon, Pokemon, all those type of things. And that's where his money is. And it's kind of like... I don't know. They just like, he does his own fan art. He even does pins for drag queens and stuff. And even those pins, I mean, unless the drag queen's popular, don't really sell all that much. And he does commission with them and all that type of stuff. So it's kind of like, sometimes you bite the bullet depending on the industry.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't do it at some point and you just ignore it altogether, no one will find it. And so you could potentially have, I mean, you figure all of the IPs that are big, they eventually started at a point where nobody had ever heard of them.
Right.
And now they're huge. So sometimes it's just a crapshoot and you don't know. I'm sure a lot of people that have IPs, especially smaller indie IPs, a lot of them probably never expected them to hit it big. And just for whatever reason, there's no exact formula where you can't, there's no formula for success where you can say you do 1 + 1, that's going to equal 2, and you're going to be successful. You can follow exactly the same formula for your IP as someone else did. They blow it out of the water and you don't, or vice versa. But you don't know until you try. And sometimes the hook is just something that is clever. That it's like, haha, it's funny that no one ever thought of that, you know?
Yeah.
So, well, you have to take risks. I mean, owning your own business is a big risk itself. And like, you have to change things up, and you have to take the risk, and you have to put different things out there and see if it goes, you know, and sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. So
yeah, I mean, really, like when we started, we came out of the gate. We said, well, we want to do a little bit of everything. We want to do props. We want to do costumes. We want to do video production. At one point, I even did like a wedding reception video. A couple of those. And so
That worked out real well.
Yeah. So we shot for a very broad range of related industry things, and after a while, we said, well, this we're not really selling this anymore. So we're going to take that off the business card because we don't really do video production. And then, it became, the costume thing, everyone's cheap. They want to pay like $100 when it costs more than that just for the fabric.
Yeah.
It's too hard to gauge the hourly time. That was one where it's very hard to come up with hourly time. So we said, you know what? That's not where the money's at. It's in the props. So we mainly focused on that. And then when I started making the diorama stuff, and over time, that's now the bread and butter. It's like, okay, well, we're still going to do the props, but most of our new products, most of our promotion is going to be based towards this. So over the years, we've made that constant adjustment of where do we want to spend our time? Where do we want to spend our resources with what's going to sell best? So you might put out a number of products and you find one sells okay, and you wouldn't want to just stop selling that because that's still some money, but then there's something else that does a little bit better. And so maybe do a little bit more products that are kind of in that regard.
So do you budget for the risk? Do you budget for the failure in the midst of all this? Because, as Amy was saying earlier about like, segmenting your income into other places so that you have that,
safety net.
Safety net and other such things, and then supplies and time and gas money or whatever it is. Do you then also segment your money for those failures, or do you utilize your trust as a means to pick up the slack for whatever you attempted that failed? Do you know what I'm saying? Am I making sense?
Our trust would be the hole in the ground account for members first, and then we have the...
Yeah, we don't really break stuff up, but as far as new products go, the one way is basically customer demand. Like there's been a couple products that I would never think would sell well on my own. Someone would ask for something real obscure, some diorama parts. They're like, oh, here's this droid. Can you make this? And I'm like, this is literally the best photo that exists, and I'm going to have to make up half of it because the reference is so poor.
Oh no!
Who's going to want something that obscure? Everybody.
Right.
You wouldn't think of it. So there's been a lot of stuff. I made it on customer demand. So sometimes because one person would ask for it and I took a chance. Other times, a bunch of people would ask for something obscure and I'd be like, well, this is kind of weird. I don't think this would sell really good. And sometimes that's worked. Sometimes that hasn't. Shan, I know your hubby, he likes 6-inch diorama parts. I've had people ask me about it, and I'm like, for me, they're actually very poor sellers. So I tend to not pursue those as much.
I feel like 1/12 scale things are, it's a certain cornered market, just like 3 3/4 inch is a certain cornered market, just like, any other scale when it comes down to making dioramas or props or anything like that. And you're cornering a specific spot. Like this is just for this. There are tons of people out there who are only working on like certain toy line products, like Mythic Legions or Black Series Star Wars or whatever. When it comes to dioramas and stuff, it's definitely like you pick your lane. most
Yeah.
of the time because you have to. You start dipping
Well,
yourself
part of
into
my
too many
part of my
pies.
lane is based on demand. Like I don't hear the same demand for it, so therefore I tend not to go for it. Where that for me is, there's like what the market actually demands and what sometimes customers believe it demands. Like if customers have a niche, they might be like, well, everyone wants this. Well, why? Well, because that's the community they're in, and they're talking to other people that, collect and buy the same sort of things. But that might not actually be what the market as a whole, where the demand really is.
That's very important to keep in mind.
Yeah, so it's like you have to listen to the customer, but by the same token, you can't necessarily take it on faith when they say, this will be a hot seller. Because I've had some people that are like, if you make such and such, you're going to sell a ton of them. And I'd be like, okay. And then I'd be waiting for anyone to buy it.
So
now we have.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, we have a question that kind of relates to, I guess, in general. Do you ever get customers that demand a unique item that doesn't get made for everyone else? And how do you factor that in? Like, have you ever had somebody say, no, this is mine. Don't make this again.
Yeah. I've done one-offs before. There for a while when I was doing like a lot of, it was back when a lot of the popular animes, like everyone had a big sword, an enormous, 7-foot sword or whatever. And during that time, I would often make
everybody wants a bigger sword.
Yeah.
And then I would say I would make one extra to sell.
For anime, they're compensating for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you assume they are because, everybody wants the biggest sword.
There were sometimes I would make one for a customer. I would make one extra, and I would see what the demand is. I go to a convention. Is that the one I end up taking to the next 5 conventions that I can't sell, or is that the one that sells right away? And if it seems like the demand is there, just making that one extra, sometimes I do it. And, that can be easier to do if you do it at the same time, because you kind of assembly align it, Oh, I'm going to spray paint this. I'll spray paint both together. I need to cut this part. I'll cut both together.
Has also created risk where we've used products and supplies that didn't work out. So then you paid all the money for them, and then you didn't have the success with it that you thought you were going to.
Fortunately, I don't think we've had anything that was really expensive that we've done that with.
But then that goes then to the original question: is risk? What is the risk?
Yeah, I know what she's talking about. Now, this was one completely blindsided us as far as our perception of demand, and that is a number of years ago, Attack on Titan was everywhere. And we would go to an anime con, and you would think it was an Attack on Titan con, because you would look around. I could do a 360, and 50% of the people would be wearing Attack on Titan stuff.
Yeah.
And hardly anyone had the props for it. And so I'm like, holy crap, we could do gangbusters if we made the props from this. And a lot of times I'm just too busy doing the normal orders that I really need someone to commission it to make it. And so someone finally commissioned the parts. And so I spent a lot of money in molds to make these. And then I made 1 or 2 extra to take to a convention. I'm like, oh man, these are going to fly. And almost anyone wearing Attack on Titan costume, I would see walk through the dealer's room, not even going, not just to us, to hardly any of the vendors, but especially not us. And you would be thinking right there, and I would like wave to them, hey, Attack on Titan stuff here. And they'd just be like, hey, walk on by. And I'm like, am I living in the Twilight Zone?
Yeah.
Like, everyone loves this, and I cannot move these to save my life. And I mentioned it to a customer once. I said, yeah, I don't get it. And he said, here's the thing you got to remember. He said, the age range of Attack on Titan fans tends to be skewed younger. And a lot of the costumes they're wearing, they didn't make themselves. They can go online. They can buy that jacket for $40. They have a cosplay costume for $40. They don't have the money to spend on the props. And some of them are bulky, so they just don't want to have them. And so these were all things that my perception of the market was that this is literally going to be one of my hottest selling items.
And it was not.
And it was so bad. I had the parts for years that I was selling, I think, the whole kit of parts for like backpack, all these kind of things for like $170 would have been for everything. The last set, just to get rid of it, I sold for about $20.
Yeah.
And then I tried to sell the molds for like $20. Like, hey, people, you can buy the molds. You can sell your own. Nothing.
Oh, man, that is abysmal.
Literally ended up throwing the molds in the trash. They were taking up room in the house. And had room for them. So that was one thing that just blew my mind. I never would have expected that difference between perception and reality.
Go ahead.
You kind of have to find where the trend is in your business, where the trend is, what's trending. But also, that's kind of like a double-edged sword. You have to find where the money trend, like the people, what's trending for the people that actually have the money to spend the money on that.
Right. Because if you're trending just for like, if you're trending with something that basically relies on people who don't even have jobs yet, they're not going to have.
You're not going to make money on it.
One thing that I try to do, because occasionally I have people ask me about something. I'm like, well, I actually have an Excel sheet of priorities of, I want to get to these props, these parts and stuff. And sometimes what I think is the best thing to do, and now granted, we're talking about replica stuff here, not necessarily original work, is go for what is evergreen. Because depending how long it takes you to come up with a design or a product, especially when you're talking about anime stuff can be popular for years, or it might be one season of something. It's the most popular thing in the world. The next year, they're on to the next thing. And they forget about the previous year's hot item. So
take a look at My Hero Academia or Demon Slayer. Like that just came and went in a second.
But like, for example, Star Wars. It's been around for 40 years. It's just as popular as always. It's evergreen. I have the Blade Runner gun I made. Old movie, evergreen. People will still buy that product. So I would focus my energy on more stuff that is old, but it is still very popular versus stuff that might be a flash in the pan. So, it might be better if something's newer to give it a little bit of time. And even if you feel like giving it time might miss the boat, you might miss the boat, but you might also save yourself some time and money that may have been wasted towards something that's just a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
Right. So here's the other thing, because I've participated in businesses that had absolutely nothing to do with the artistic community or fan related anything. It was more of a service necessity line of work than it was like a trying to hunt out the appeal kind of a business. And do you find that there is a bigger I'm sorry, what?
I said, are you talking about your vibrator business that you want?
No.
I don't even own a vibrator, dude.
I'm completely joking, but I know. We haven't laughed enough tonight, so I thought
I know. Yeah, we didn't get to penises yet. So we haven't talked about cocks and balls and food, so we're getting there.
Yeah, we got pets now. Pets has already been done. We were talking about pets.
Did this one grow a vagina?
What?
The vajayjay tonight, because we have a special guest.
Oh,
okay.
I was like, where'd you go?
What were you gonna say, Cham? An industry that's
So no, I was just gonna say, like, involving yourself in a service type industry where it's like more of a people need to contact you to get your help, Like it's a necessity. So like in the painting industry, or even like Amy's job is, you know, her business is a cleaning. I feel like that's more of a sort of like a
service.
And like a home run as far as like having people contact you.
There's always demand, money. In other words.
Yes,
right. Whereas like in the arts, as far as business goes, you're constantly trying to find people who are going to want what you're doing, not need what you're doing, but want it. Like Amy don't you have a relative that was a painter and an artist?
Yeah, my father was. Correct. And I remember, you know, and I remember growing up, you know, we weren't poor, you know what I mean? But we weren't rich. And the thing is that you could always tell when Dad was selling his artwork, because we weren't eating fish sticks and macaroni and cheese. We were actually eating hamburgers that, you know, Mom had to prepare. They didn't come frozen. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you could always tell when business was good, and you could tell when business was bad. And there were ups and downs, and there were good days, and there were really, really bad days. So, you know, it's a gamble, and it's tough. Definitely. And the thing is with something like that, you kind of, you need to brand yourself, you know,
marketing.
Need to, right. And it's like, so you're no longer you know, my father wasn't Leo. It was Portraits by Gilroy. And that was something that he had to brand and market and make it his own and become that, you know, and that's any type of artist. You literally have to live and breathe that brand and stay within that brand, you know, because your consumers don't like it when you go outside of your brand, because it's foreign. They don't, people have a really tough time with change. So one of the key factors to being successful, especially in the art industry, is staying within your brand. You know, take your risk, but you have to make it part of your brand. Yeah. And that can be, there can be like a divide if you're not doing it the correct way. So
one thing I know, you know, as far as like careers go, that, you know, my dad always told me is it's actually probably, you know, some people end up in their careers by accident. They just get a job and they end up, you know, I know a friend of mine from way back that started working as a teller. He then eventually ended up becoming a bank manager. He would get sent to other states to set up banks. That's something he never intended that he was going to do with his life. But it just so happened that the career path was there and it worked out for him. And, you know, the one thing I had always heard was, because of getting sick of your hobbies, is you really shouldn't do what you love. You should do what you're good at. So you might be good, you might be an excellent accountant, and you can make a ton of money doing that. But my dad had asked some people once, he said, you know, like, what is your ultimate goal? And, you know, financial independence. And he, or no, they wanted to open a restaurant or something like that. And he said, well, what's your ultimate goal? And they're like, oh, I guess ultimately financial independence. And he said, well, what if you could make 10 times the money running a macaroni factory? Would you do that, or would you open a restaurant? Well, there's some people that would say, I'm going to run the factory, because their ultimate goal is the financial aspect of it. But another person may say, no, I like interacting with people. I like the idea of running a restaurant, even though there could be greater risk, even though you could make less money. That doesn't necessarily, their personal fulfillment in that regards is just as important, if not more, than the money. And I think that's the case with a lot of artists.
I sort of disagree with you. Can I just interject there real quick? Sure. Because JD and I had this conversation back when we first started hanging out, and I feel like you can, and I agree with him about, like, he made a good point, and I'll bring it up, but like, you can, as an artist, be successful doing what you love.
Oh, I'm not saying that.
You can't. I know, but there's one key factor that most artists forget. Like, you find your niche, you find what you're good at, you find what you like, but just like with him, if you do nothing but tattoos forever and ever and ever, amen, you're going to get sick of it. You're going to get tired of it. You're going to get, cross-eyed and drooling and over that artistic thing that you do all the time. As a creative person, you need to reach out and do other creative things. So draw with a pencil, paint a picture, build something, like do anything else creative beyond what you get paid to do creatively. Plant a garden, cook meals, do something else with your hands besides that thing that you do every day that you get paid to do as a creative person. And you can find a lot of love as an artist getting paid to do what you love. It's just people tend to forget that they can do other things creatively. You can finger paint just because you can sit there and you can work on a wheel as somebody who does pottery, and you can make a beautiful bowl and people are paying you money for it. And you just get like, your eyes just get dizzy after so long of watching that wheel spin. You can still get up, grab some finger paints, and get stupid and get crazy and let your imagination expand even further than that. Because we all, like we were talking last week, you do the same thing over and over again, just like a nun reading the Bible every day for 100 fucking years, and you end up with Alzheimer's. You have to expand your mind. You have to continue doing other things. It's so, so, so important. Yeah. Even if you're doing something that's making you money and bringing you profit, you still have to expand and try other things. Get out there, take a walk, go on a hike, get busy doing other stuff. And I think that then backs up to Brian's question about like
pleasure,
personal time and pleasure beyond just your business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to separate.
You need to step away. You need to step away. You need to go do something different than what you're doing every single day, because your work's going to turn into shit. And I hate to say it that way, but my father, my father was an artist, and he was also an art teacher. And I remember going with him to his art classes. He taught adult portraiture classes. And one of his, they would have a model sitting there, and he would teach his students, to draw for like 15 minutes. And then they would take a 5-minute break. And he would often say that he wasn't giving the break to the model so that they could get down, stretch, walk around, whatever. He was actually doing that so that the person that was working on the piece of art could take the 5 minutes, step away from what they were doing, and then come back to it. Because when you're constantly in front of the same canvas, you kind of focus beyond the canvas, and you don't see what you may be doing wrong, or you don't see that you're overworking that particular piece, and you need to step away. Everybody needs a break from whatever it is they're doing, so that they don't overwork that piece, so that they can come back with a clear mind and say, okay, this needs to get changed. That needs to be redone. Oh, that looks fantastic. Oh, that doesn't. You do need to take a break. You definitely do.
So basically, to recap here, what we're saying is in starting a business, it's really important to segment your money, like give yourself something to back yourself up with. Make sure that you're putting money aside for supplies. Make sure that you are disciplining yourself to pay yourself well, but not excessively. And make sure that you give yourself time to step away from what you're doing and remember that you love what you're doing, or you would be working for someone else.
Yeah,
exactly.
Which I would not take back, because I quit my job. I'm not the type of person that likes to burn bridges. I never have in my life. And last year was the first time I ever burned a bridge in 10 years of working. So, but I would never go back, because I had a realization. I was just like, I'm a creator. I need to create. I know what I am, and I cannot stand working for someone else, especially people who do not give a shit about my own well-being, which that's what caused me to quit, was that they were just trying to just stretch me thin and just work me to the bone. And I'm just like, I can't stand this anymore. And yeah, I'm as poor as a church mouse, but I will not go back. You know, I'm on my own path. I chose this path, and regardless of ups and downs, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Right.
Like
Me too.
It's so much more. It's so much more worth it. And I know that regardless of, because I have a hard time seeing the forest from the trees. I can't really see where I'm going to be at, but I know it's going to get better. I know if I keep on working at this, like with anything, like with the art that I've been working on for decades, ever since I wanted to become an artist, it will get better. Yeah. It's just the hardest part of that is just trying to stick with it and remind yourself you can do it. You're doing well. You're making progress.
That brings to mind a quote that I heard: a stone that is not moving gathers moss, but a stone that is rolling gathers dirt, and dirt grows plants.
Not in this house.
Well, anywho,
okay, then.
On that note, does anyone else have any other quick comments that they want to make before we wrap up tonight, since we're already over about 20 minutes?
No? I mean, I feel like we could wrap up just fine.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
It's all right. So
we'll
go through
what he just said. He said, man that stands on toilet is high on pot.
Okay.
Sure.
That's good. We'll go through all the closings real quick. I don't have a shout out this week. I didn't find any good Kylo Ren pins that I've done, but the next time I find another one or fan art or something, I'll do that there. So hopefully I'll keep an eye. Exactly. Missing that eggplant. Start with Ams.
Hello. So yeah, like I said before, I am a graphic designer, illustrator, freelancer. So trying to do commissions. I try to put up a new design each week on my Redbubble. And if I could see that Redbubble, there you go. I mumble all the time. I'm also trying to do knit and crochet. So far I've done like hats and scarves and whatnot. I'm trying to branch out. So if you want me to do anything for you, just message me or email me. I am usually really quick with my responses. So, and we can work something out. Try to be very reasonable with my costs. So just let me know. Don't worry, I don't bite, I swear.
Hard.
At least hard.
Yeah, not too hard.
Casper?
So my business is Hole in the Ground Productions, and we do diorama pieces, and we do some props now, as Eric was saying earlier. And you can message us on Facebook and email us from our website. Our website is holeinthegroundpro.com, and just look us up.
Okay.
Yes. Shelf gravy everywhere that we can get it. Every other Wednesday we do a show on the Realm of Collectors YouTube channel. Last night was our show, so next week no show. But contact us. Let us know what you need. If you want anything, if you're interested in just watching and learning, please feel free to join us on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Amy, anything to plug?
No. I mean, it was kind of last minute. I
Yeah.
wish I had my little graphic card thing to put up, but I don't.
Yeah. You shout it out.
Well, it's called The Clean Scene, and I don't really have any openings. I'm sorry. To take any more.
Well, you could get some love and whatnot. If you know anyone in the area that can need some cleaning, where like you don't need to say the city, but rough area that you tend to help out, do you?
Like the Harrisburg general area type of thing. So yeah. So
Do you come to Boiling Springs?
Where is Boiling Springs? How far?
Near Carlisle. It's near Carlisle.
No, too far. But yes, but definitely an inspiration for starting up your own business, not letting something to get you down. Just go out there, give it a shot. You never know.
Absolutely.
And thank you for joining us tonight, Amy. It was
I
great
had
to
so
hear
much
from you.
fun.
Thank you
It
for your
was so much
insight.
fun. Thank you guys so much.
We should get you on a show where we're talking about more food and penises, though, because I think
Yeah.
Those are fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yes.
get that. So we got the three things. We got penis, food, and pets. That's usually our main three topics that we get.
Yeah.
into.
Yeah, and if you ever have like a most embarrassing show, like I can be part of that because I just find myself in situations that are completely embarrassing. So
Well, that could be it. We'll definitely keep that in mind for a topic. Definitely on there.
I could completely do that myself.
Yeah.
I agree.
Do a
You know
whole
what? I
show.
think we should do a whole show of embarrassing things.
Let's
Next week. Who
Absolutely.
knows?
we can throw
Maybe
a
next
topic
week.
together.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Also, just to finish up real quick, we'll do Lady Low shout out, the Nerds Have Spoken podcast. You can listen to them every Thursday morning. Hopefully, the meetups will start up on Saturday nights. So, if not, you can find Jason on Call of Duty. Give him a shout out. Our lovely music is also done by the Mr. Dust Mites with adult music. You can listen to his music on, I think, almost any listening platform at this point. Apple Music, Spotify, Bandcamp, Music.
Amazon has him. Amazon Music has him on there. He has like a little icon deal that lists everything where you can stream him now, but it's nice to be able to just throw his music up on Spotify and just let it all go.
Yes,
It's
plays
so
good,
nice.
good background music that we all love, all that type of stuff. So it's good. You don't have to worry about anything. Just chill with. With us, you can find us on everything that are at least these main things. So YouTube, of course, you can watch us live on there or catch up with us on weekly for it. Instagram, been trying to get that a little bit more organized. And Facebook, if you want to shout out or reach out to us on any of that. You can listen to us on the go, although there might be a little bit of delay with some of the audio. So just bear with us if you want to catch up with us. YouTube for right now. Outside of that, I hope you all have a wonderful Thursday and see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.